monster right under your bed. My big brother says that everybody has a monster under their bed. He says the monster waits till you're asleep. Then he crawls up next to you and he practices fitting your head in his mouth. I can prove it. Didn't you ever wake up with a drool spot on your pillow? I don't know, but my daddy says there's no such thing as monsters. Daddy has to say that. That's you go to sleep at night and not bother them. Why do you think moms and daddies sleep in the same room anyway? It's so they can protect each other from the monster, or else their heads might get chewed off. What if the monster's under my bed right this very minute? And what if he's looking at my piggy toes and wants to eat them? Because piggy toes look just like little wiener sausages, I think. And the monster's really real. Grace said it can turn invisible. That's how come we never even saw that guy. There's nothing scarier than the thought of a monster hiding under the bed or lurking in the closet. But are monsters always the hairy, frightening creatures imagined in Junie B. Jones Has a Monster Under Her Bed by Barbara Parks? Or could they be misfits, erroneously labeled by society as monsters, like Boo Radley from Harper Lee's American classic To Kill a Mockingbird? My brother Jim wanted to see what he looks like. Let's try to make him come out of his old creepy house. But he'll kill us and gouge our eyes out. When I was 6 and Jem was nearly 10, our summertime boundaries were Mrs. Jabot's house and the Radley place, which was inhabited by a malevolent phantom. The gossip was he was 6.5 feet tall. His hands were bloodstained because he dined on raw squirrels and cats. Jem decided to put a note on the end of a fishing pole and stick it through the shutters of Boo's dark house. Boo didn't come out, but Jem kept trying. Then, one night, Jem and I were outside playing when something grabbed me. Oh, man. Through the darkness, I recognized him as the town drunk, Bob Ewell. I thought my brother jerked backwards to the ground. When Jem screamed out, tried to run to him, but my arms were tightly pinned. The man's arms were like steel, and he slowly started squeezing the breath out of me. He smelled of stale whiskey. Suddenly, I heard footsteps coming. The man holding me let go, and he ran off. I saw Boo Radley coming toward our house, carrying Jem. My father ran down the steps yelling, "This way, Arthur! Someone's been after my children." And he and Boo carried Jem inside. "Arthur, you saved them. You saved my Jem. Thank you for my children, Arthur. Thank you." I realized then that Boo, maybe I should call him Mr. Arthur, must have heard my screams and come running to save us. I looked at him, standing there. His hands were white, sickly white hands that had never seen the sun. His face was as white as his hands, his cheeks thin, tall in his gray eyes were so colorless. I thought he was blind. As I smiled up at him, the tension slowly drained from his face. His lips parted into a timid smile, and his image blurred with my sudden tears. I took his hand, and he gave no sign of letting me go. Sometimes it isn't the ignorance and cruelty of others that is monstrous, but rather our own guilt that holds us in its grasp. In Dear Zoe, by Philip Beard, a girl can't let go of her own guilt. She feels responsible after her younger sister's death in a car accident on the same day as the September 11th attacks. Dear Zoe, I have this picture of you and Mom on my desk in my room. You're kneeling on her lap, facing her, and your mouth and eyes are both smiling right at her like there's no one else in the world. The picture's taken from the side. It's a picture of Mom's hair in your face, and you can see Mom's face in yours. That's the kind of face you had, the kind that reflected the world and made it beautiful. Sometimes we talk about how we're all numb. So the videos of the planes hitting the buildings of the buildings coming down, have you ever felt the way everyone else did that day? That was important for me, to find out that on any day you could pick, there are thousands and thousands of little deaths, tiny tragedies, and that all of them matter. I passed a newsstand, and the front page of the New York Times read, "New York to observe September 11th with dawn to dusk tributes." I couldn't watch because the news wasn't about people like us. The country was fighting the war on terror. Little crimes, like mine, didn't matter. Little deaths, like yours, didn't make a sound. You died in this tiny, silent part of that day. The hardest part's going to be the day itself, the anniversary. You won't be any part of what they're thinking about. You'll just be the silence itself. Now, every living person, even ones who lost no one, will be thinking of all those people who fell out of the sky. And no one except Mom and David and Em and me will be thinking of you. And I will have to feel all that guilt again. Not just the guilt that goes along with remembering that day and you, which is always there, but the guilt like a monster that tightens around my chest because I don't care about all those others. I even resent them for dying on that day that should have been yours alone. Now my brain is saying you killed your sister. And I have no answer for that. I should have been outside with you the whole time. We will never, ever be the same without you. There are the childhood monsters of our imagination, the internal demons of our own creation, and in her poem, Moth in the Closet, California poet laureate Janice Miracatani describes the real-life monsters that prey on the innocent and vulnerable. In the folds of wool sweaters a young girl hides, among the shoes in her mother's closet. He will find her. The large man who smells like mash and chicken feathers. The girl whimpers as she hears the slapping of his slippers entering the bedroom. A larva, a worm offspring cradled in wood fiber, hears the weeping of the girl. She presses her face into the wall, hoping the man will vanish into the grain of wood. Dresses, pants, shirts dance in macabre movements on wire hangers as the man opens the closet door. Empty sleeves fling on the neck of a shirt, and button shirts jerk and twist, white skirt patterned with red roses rips from its pins. Trouser flat, unzipped. A child, like crumpled cloth, lays on the floor of the closet, weeping among the wrinkled flowers. The worm spins a cocoon and feeds from silk roses that once bloomed on her mother's thighs. One day, with great dusty moth wings, we will fly from her closet of empty sleeves, unfastened blouses, and a wilted skirt of roses watered with tears. And every flame shall taste her wings. There's no such thing as monsters